welcome back. My name is Katie and today I wanted to show you all of the books on my TBR. So, actual disclaimer right now, I do have a good chunk of books that are still up in New York at my parents' house. I wasn't able to move them back and I kind of just packed them up in boxes and my parents are sending them to me periodically. But those are mostly books that I have read, and in order to work on my TBR pile, I brought down here with me a lot of books that I have not read yet. I've also been buying a lot of books too, so there's that. Let's just get into it because I think this is going to be a pretty long video. Also, disclaimer, I'm not shaming anyone for having a large TBR. My TBR is very large and I'm okay with that. I'm still really excited to read all of these books. So, yes, let's just get into it. The first book is Onyx by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I read this is a bind-up of the first two novels in the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I read the first one, which was Obsidian, back in July or June, one of those months over the summer, and I still need to read the second half of this bind-up, which would be Onyx by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And I have The 12 Kings of Sherdakai by Bradley P. Beaulieu. This is an adult fantasy novel. Furies of Calderon by Jim Butcher. This is an adult fantasy novel. Rook by Sharon Cameron. This is a young adult historical fiction dystopian novel. Pathfinder by Orson Scott Card. This is a young adult science fiction novel. The Girl of Fire and Thorns by Ray Carson. This is the first book in the Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy, and this is a young adult fantasy novel. The Demon King by Cinda Williams Chima. This is the first book in the Seven Realms series, and it is a young adult multiple perspective fantasy novel. City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. This is the third book in the Mortal Instruments series, which is a young adult paranormal urban fantasy series. Clockwork Prince and Clockwork Princess, both by Cassandra Clare. These are the last two books in the Infernal Devices trilogy, and this is a historical fiction paranormal fantasy trilogy that is a companion to the Mortal Instruments series. The Assassin's Curse and The Pirate's Wish, both by Cassandra Rose Clark. This is a duology young adult fantasy. Dune by Carrie Corp and Lori Langdon. This is a young adult contemporary / historical fiction, I believe. Search for Wandala by Toni DiTerlizzi. This is a middle grade science fiction adventure fantasy novel. It's the first book in the series. Da Vinci's Tiger by L.M. Eliot. This is a young adult historical fiction novel. The Roundhouse by Louise Erdrich. This is an adult fiction novel. And Casino Royale by Ian Fleming. This is the first book in the 007 James Bond series, and it is an adult mystery novel. The Distance from Me to You by Marina Gessner. This is a young adult contemporary novel. Star Wars The Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. This is a young adult science fiction novel based in the Star Wars universe. Grey Mountain by John Grisham. This is an adult fiction mystery novel. Kitchen House by Kathleen Grissom. This is an adult historical fiction novel. Shadow of the Wolf by Tim Hall. This is a young adult fantasy retelling of Robin Hood. Nightfall by Jim Halpern and Peter Kujavinsky. This is a young adult sort of paranormally fantasy novel. The Fear and the Sacrifice by Charlie Higson. This is books 3 and 4 in the Enemy series by Charlie Higson. This is a young adult dystopian apocalyptic novel. November 9 by Colleen Hoover. This is new adult contemporary. Stolen Songbird by Danielle L. Jensen. This is fantasy. I'm not sure if it's adult or young adult. The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. This is an adult fantasy novel. Natchez Burning by Greg Iles. This is an adult thriller / mystery novel. On the Road by Jack Kerouac. This is a new classic adult novel. Flight Behavior by Barbara Kingsolver. This is an adult fiction novel. The Mountain Story by Lori Lanson. This is adult fiction. Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. This is an adult fiction / historical fiction novel, and it is the second / companion book to Kill a Mockingbird. The Young Elites by Marie Lu. This is a young adult fantasy novel. Heir of Fire and The Assassin's Blade, both by Sarah J. Maas. This is the third book and the companion novellas to the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This is a young adult fantasy novel. Anakin of the Rock by Melina Marchetta. This is a young adult fantasy novel. Knight of the Seven Kingdoms by George R.R. Martin. This is an adult fantasy novel and companion to the Song of Ice and Fire series. Second Chance Summer by Morgan Matson. This is a young adult contemporary. Reconstructing Amelia by Kimberly McCreight. This is an adult fiction / mystery novel. Bloodlines by Rochelle Mead. This is a young adult paranormal / urban fantasy. This is the spin-off series to the Vampire Academy series. Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is a young adult science fiction novel. Life and Death by Stephanie Meyer. This is a retelling of Twilight where it's gender swapped, and so it's young adult paranormal / urban fantasy. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is an adult fantasy novel. The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. This is the first book in a young adult fantasy series. Fallen Kingdoms series by Morgan Rhodes, consisting of Fallen Kingdoms, Rebel Spring, and Gathering Darkness. This is a young adult fantasy series. The Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan. I have read The Lightning Thief, but I think I'm gonna reread it and just try and marathon this series this year. The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is the first book in an adult fantasy series. Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. This is a young adult fantasy novel. The Winner's Crime by Marie Rutowski. This is the second book in the Winner's trilogy, the first being The Winner's Curse, and it is young adult fantasy. The Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. This is an adult fantasy trilogy. A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is an adult fantasy novel, also the first in a series. The Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. This is the second book in the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon. It is an adult paranormal dystopian fantasy, very hard to describe, very good series. The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the first book in the Raven cycle. It is a young adult urban fantasy. Veronica Mars, Mr. Kiss and Tell by Rob Thomas and Jennifer Graham. This is an adult mystery novel that's set in the Veronica Mars world. The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is a classic fantasy tale. Trouble is a Friend of Mine by Stephanie Trombley. This is a young adult contemporary / mystery novel. Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. This is an adult fiction / classic novel. The Martian by Andy Weir. This is an adult science fiction novel. Star Wars Aftermath by Chuck Wendig. This is an adult science fiction novel set in the Star Wars universe. Finally, Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. This is a middle grade contemporary novel that's told in verse. I'm really excited to read this one. So those are all of my unread books that I currently have here with me right now. I think there are a few still up in New York or in boxes being shipped to me. For example, The Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness I know I have, and a couple other classics that I have not read yet. But as of right now, these are the TBR books that I own, and I'm really excited to read a lot of these this year. I cannot wait. I'm really excited. But that is pretty much all I wanted to cover today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys soon with another video. Goodbye!